Welcome to the Dursleys. Vernon, Petunia, and Dudley, a family defined by their desperate, almost violent adherence to what they deemed normal. Their world was a meticulously constructed fortress against anything remotely different, anything that hinted at the extraordinary, the unusual, the magical. This wasn't just a preference, it was an obsession, a driving force that dictated every polished surface, every predictable routine, every carefully chosen word. Their lives were a performance, a relentless act of being utterly, aggressively ordinary, and woe betide anyone who threatened to pull back the curtain. What fueled this desperate performance? A trinity of values: materialism, conformity, and social status. Vernon Dursley, the embodiment of this creed, measured success in drills and disdain for anything he couldn't understand or control. His car, his house, his job, all symbols of his normal power. Petunia Dursley, driven by a deeper, more bitter history, craved acceptance above all else. Her perfect home, her gossip, her frantic efforts to fit in were a shield against a past she desperately wanted to bury. Dudley, the pampered prince, was the living monument to their values. Spoiled, entitled, and utterly conventional, he was the perfect, normal son they had always dreamed of. Then a baby arrived on their doorstep, a silent, bundled disruption left in the dead of night. Harry Potter, the living embodiment of everything they feared and despised. His very existence was a threat to their carefully constructed reality. A crack appeared in the flawless veneer of Privet Drive. The decision to take him in wasn't born of kindness, but of cold, hard fear. Fear of what others would say, fear of the unknown world he represented. From that moment their lives became a silent war, a war waged against a small innocent boy and the magic that pulsed within him. Their weapon: isolation, neglect, cruelty. They sought to stamp out the spark of magic, to force him into their mold of normalcy. The cupboard under the stairs wasn't just a bedroom, it was a prison, a physical manifestation of their desire to hide him away, to pretend he didn't exist. Letters flying down the chimney, Hagrid bursting through the door, these weren't wonders to them, but terrifying invasions. They reacted with blustering rage and frantic attempts to restore their shattered normalcy. Their denial was a defense mechanism. To admit magic was real was to admit their own insignificance, their own lack of control in a universe far grander and stranger than they could comprehend. This fear manifested as intense prejudice against wizards, against magic, against Harry himself. They saw him not as a child, but as a dangerous anomaly. Every decision they made regarding Harry was filtered through this lens of fear and prejudice. It dictated where he slept, what he ate, who he spoke to, what he was allowed to know. The Dursleys' treatment left deep, invisible scars on Harry. The emotional and psychological impact of their abuse shaped his early years. He grew up feeling unwanted, unloved, and fundamentally wrong. Their constant belittling and neglect could have easily broken a weaker spirit. He learned to be self-reliant, to hide his true self, to expect the worst. These were survival mechanisms forged in the harsh environment of Privet Drive. Their attempts to suppress his magic only highlighted its presence. The more they tried to deny it, the more it manifested, often in accidental, uncontrollable bursts. Ironically, the Dursleys' cruelty had unintended consequences. Their efforts to crush Harry's spirit inadvertently forged his resilience. He learned to endure, to hope against hope, to find light in the darkest places. These were lessons the Dursleys never intended to teach, but they were vital for the challenges ahead. Their attempts to make him normal failed spectacularly. Instead, they inadvertently prepared him for a life that was anything but. Lost in their petty world of garden gnomes and neighborhood gossip, the Dursleys were utterly blind to the larger battle raging in the wizarding world. They were oblivious to the prophecy, to the Dark Lord, to the fate of the world resting on the shoulders of the boy they kept locked in a cupboard. Their focus was so narrow, so self-absorbed, that the cosmic struggle between good and evil was entirely off their radar. They were minor characters in a grand epic, utterly unaware of their place. Yet their actions, their very existence, were woven into the fabric of that epic. Harry's time with them was a crucial part of his journey, a necessary crucible. The Dursleys, by taking him in, however reluctantly and cruelly, played a role in fulfilling the conditions that kept him safe, at least physically, for those crucial early years. They were the guardians, the keepers of the key, the unwitting participants in a destiny they couldn't possibly comprehend. Their house was the only place Voldemort's magic couldn't touch him directly. It's a dark irony that their fear of magic inadvertently protected the one person who could defeat the greatest dark wizard of all time. Did the Dursleys ever make the right choice regarding Harry, even by accident? Taking him in was arguably the right action from a protective standpoint, fulfilling the blood protection. Every subsequent choice, the neglect, the abuse, the denial, was undeniably wrong. They chose prejudice over compassion, ignorance over understanding, cruelty over kindness. Their right choice was a single fear-driven act, overshadowed by years of deliberate harm. Petunia Dursley is perhaps the most complex of the three. Her bitterness stemmed from a deep well of envy and regret regarding her sister Lily. Her desperate need for normalcy was a reaction to feeling left out, ordinary, and resentful of Lily's extraordinary gift. There were fleeting moments, tiny cracks in her hardened exterior, where her past connection to the magical world seemed to surface, a shudder at the mention of Dementors, a flash of understanding about Harry's eyes. These moments hint at a buried humanity, a road not taken, making her character tragically, if not sympathetically, layered. Vernon Dursley, on the other hand, seems almost entirely defined by his fear and blustering ignorance. He represents the extreme end of rejecting anything outside his narrow experience. His rage is a defense mechanism. His loud pronouncements against magic are attempts to assert control over a world he cannot grasp. He is a caricature of prejudice, a man so terrified of the unknown that he becomes cruel and ridiculous. There is little room for nuance in Vernon. He is the wall against which magic crashes. His character serves as a stark contrast to the open-mindedness and wonder required to embrace the wizarding world. Dudley Dursley, the spoiled bully, is a product of his parents' worst traits. He embodies their materialism, their entitlement, and their cruelty towards Harry. However, unlike his parents, Dudley shows a capacity for change, however small. The encounter with the Dementors forces him to confront his own fear and vulnerability. His awkward, almost silent acknowledgement of Harry in the final book, the offer of tea, the handshake, suggests a glimmer of understanding, a potential for breaking the cycle. Dudley's arc, though minor, offers a sliver of hope that even those raised in such a toxic environment are not entirely beyond redemption. Their cruelty taught him compassion. Their neglect taught him the value of friendship and love. Their attempts to suppress his magic only made him embrace it more fiercely. Ultimately, the Dursleys serve as a powerful lesson, a dramatic character study in the destructive nature of fear and prejudice.